Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tudor Black Bay Steel. This watch is available from Chronex.com for €3,750. You can purchase the watch from Chronex.com online, or alternatively in person at their boutiques. All their watches are Chronex certified original by their in-house watchmakers, and all their watches are covered by the Chronex 24-month warranty. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the Black Bay Steel comes in a watch box which is protected by this outer cardboard box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and the watch box is protected by a foam panel to protect it in shipping from any damage. This is the watch box itself, very aesthetically pleasing. We have a glossy black Tudor shield on the hinged lid. Very similar in design to Rolex watch boxes, and I like it. So as you can see, the interior is fully upholstered with an aesthetically pleasing velour fabric to a high standard. And the watch sits on a padded pillow cushion in the base, and again very similar design to the Rolex padded pillow cushions they use in their watch boxes. With regards to the items one gets with the watch, this is the plastic guarantee card. For security I've covered the serial number, but you can see the reference number of the Black Bay Steel 79730. This is a pre-owned 2021 piece in as new perfect condition, and one can see the date of purchase was the 10th of July 2021. One also gets this Tudor owner's instruction manual, and one also gets this guarantee booklet, and lastly one also gets the original Tudor price tag which has the serial number of the piece. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Tudor Black Bay Steel. We have a 41mm case diameter, we have a 50.1mm lug to lug measurement, a thickness of 14.8mm, and a lug width of 22mm. The rivet link bracelet tapers from 22mm at the lugs down to the flip lock clasp, and as you can see the flip lock clasp is signed to a high standard with the Tudor brand logo. Nice attention to detail, because if you look at the flip lock underneath you can also see they have incorporated a Tudor shield, so it's very nice detail. But however, I'm going to draw criticism to it because it only has 3 micro adjustment holes. I'm often critical of this in my previous reviews. I would like to see micro adjustments added to this clasp, or alternatively 5 micro adjustment holes, because 3 just isn't good enough. It doesn't give enough fine tuning of the length of the bracelet. I would also like to see Tudor introduce some half links in the bracelet rather than just full links, because again, in the absence of a micro adjustment mechanism, that would allow for better fine tuning of the fit. On a positive note, on the Tudor Black Bay Bronze they have introduced a new micro adjustment clasp which they call the T-Fit, and the T-Fit clasp is very similar in design to the Rolex Glide Lock, and I'm hoping that they introduce it to other Black Bay models such as the Black Bay 58 and the Black Bay Heritage, because it really does work very well. The T-Fit is every bit as good as the Glide Lock. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear AR coating does an excellent job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the mirror polished snowflake hands and the silver applied indices. The bezel has a stainless steel insert, hence the name Black Bay Steel, and this makes a refreshing change from the burgundy, midnight blue and also black aluminium bezel inserts that they use on the Black Bay Heritage models. I like the brushed satin finish, and it has a nice matte sheen to it. The satin finish does complement the case, and it really is very well done. I like the black minute ticks and also the black Arabic numerals. The stainless steel bezel insert is very aesthetically pleasing. Solid stainless steel coin edge finish bezel, very low profile which adds to the vintage aesthetic of the piece, and I love the way the double dome sapphire crystal projects above the top edge of the stainless steel bezel insert. It's like a top hat or box crystal, and again that adds to the vintage aesthetic of the Black Bay. Now, one thing I dislike about the Black Bay Heritage and also this Black Bay Steel, which uses the same 41mm case, is it does have tall slab sides to the flanks, as you can see, and it is a thick piece at 14.8mm. So this is something that I think Tudor could improve upon, slimming down the thickness of the piece and reducing the flanks to a thinner profile, because it really does spoil the aesthetic of the piece. But however, I do like the large bevels which are machined on the edge of the case, and they mark the transition between the tops of the lugs, which are brushed satin finish, and the mirror polished flanks. So the large bevels do look very nice. With With regards to the lug width, they've made the correct decision by using a 22mm rather than 20mm lug width. The Black Bay 58 has a 20mm lug width. I think the 20mm lug width 22mm lug width perfectly balances the 41mm head of the piece. Now, unusually for a Black Bay, unlike the Heritage and the Black Bay 58, this Black Bay still has a date complication at 3 o'clock. The black Arabic numerals contrast very well with the white dates wheel, clearly legible, and I like the layout of the dial. It's very similar to the Black Bay Heritage and also the Black Bay 58. It's got that classic Submariner style layout with the date complication, so it looks very good. The silver mirror polished snowflake hands are very well executed, and they also complement the silver applied indices. Chapter ring is fully indexed with 60-minute tick, so the legibility is outstanding. I like the attention to detail with the red triangle around the Lume pip at 12 o'clock, and on the dial we've also got red text for the water resistance rating, which is 200 metres. So just the right amount of information, because it says 200 metres in red, and then it says chronometer officially certified because it's certified by COSC. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, this bracelet has been sized for a smaller wrist, so therefore it's a tight fit to get it across my hand, but I want to give you a wrist shot so I can just get it across my hand. But however, I'm going to have to hold it on wrist because, as you can see, it's been sized too small for my 8-inch wrist. Now, with regards to comfort, the first thing I'm going to say is if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, you will find that this wears with too much wrist presence and too much heft. It's an incredibly heavy piece on the rivet link bracelet. This is 178 grams. It's one of the heaviest 41mm pieces I have reviewed. If you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, I highly recommend you would purchase the Tudor Black Bay 58, which is a 39mm and therefore better suited to a smaller 6 to 7-inch wrist. However, if you are a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches, you will find the 41mm wrist presence of the Heritage and also this Black Bay steel to be very aesthetically pleasing. As you can see, the curved undercut of the case fits my 8-inch wrist very well. It's a nice snug fit due to using female pivoted end links, and Tudor have made the correct decision by using female pivoted end links rather than male end links, which would extend the overall lug-to-lug measurement to in excess of 50mm. The lug-to-lug measurement of the head of the piece is a rather long 50.1, so again, it's unsuitable for a 6 to 7-inch wrist. With a 7 to 8-inch wrist, you can wear a 50.1mm lug-to-lug measurement head of the piece, but I think that if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, you will find the proportions of the Black Bay 58 to suit you much better. Now, the thing to note is it is a tall piece, and therefore it's going to be more difficult to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. It's 14.8mm due to having that double-domed top hat style crystal. Again, the Black Bay 58 is more slender and it slips underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so that's another consideration if you're going to wear it as a daily wear piece with long sleeve shirts. Really, I regard 13mm to be the sweet spot for a dive piece to easily slip underneath a long sleeve shirt cuff. At 14.8, it is a tall piece and it does have very tall slab sides. And the slab sides really are noticeable on wrist. As you can see, it does wear very tall. One can feel it's just under 15mm. So at 41 diameter by 14.8 tall, it is a large piece. And also on the bracelet, the heft is noticeable. It does feel noticeably heavier than a Submariner, for example, at circa 150 grams. 178 is 28 grams heavier than a 41mm Submariner. So that's something to note. Large piece, heavy piece, and on the bracelet, it does feel very well balanced, but on a leather strap, rubber strap, or NATO strap, it does feel very top heavy because it's tall, it's wide, and it's also very heavy. Just the head of the piece itself is very top heavy. So really, one has to wear it on the bracelet to balance it, and therefore one has to have a larger 7 to 8 inch wrist to be able to feel comfortable wearing the 178 grams. When wearing it for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day, you do really notice that extra 28 grams of heft. I really regard 150 to be the top limits for a 40 or 41mm dive piece. At 178, it really is excessive heft. So again, the Black Bay 58, which I've previously reviewed, could be a better option if you're looking for more comfort wearing a piece for 8 to 12 hours per day. With regards to the crown, it's solid stainless steel. It has the embossed Tudor rose, coin edge finish to it. So let's test the screw down crown action. The crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters. silky smooth. It feels similar to a Rolex trip lock or alternatively twin lock crown. It's got that kind of smooth feeling to it. So as this is a date complication piece, pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. Rotating it anti-clockwise advances the quick set complication, as one would expect. So it works very well. Silky smooth. It's got a nice positive index to each day of the month. It clicks over with a nice positive reassuring click. Pulling it out to the second click is the time setting position, and the movement has hacking. If you look at the Snowflake second hand, you can see I have now stopped it dead, so it's possible to hack the movement and set the time precisely to the second. Nice light resistance to the movement, which is the caliber MT5612. So I like the resistance of it, no backplay whatsoever. One can feel the gearing in the movement, and it's an absolute pleasure to set the time. Pushing it back in restarts the movement with a nice positive click. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. It really is very good screw down crown execution, so I like it. It's a pleasure to operate because it's low profile. I like the fact that it's not oversized and it doesn't dig into the back of the hand when one flexes the wrist, and the coin edge finishing means it's very grippy and tactile, so it feels good. It's got good grip and it's silky smooth to screw down. With regards to the bezel, it's a solid stainless steel bezel with a stainless steel bezel insert, as I've discussed, and a Lume pip in the red triangle at 12 o'clock. 60 click rather than 120 click, so that does take some getting used to if you're used to contemporary 120 click unidirectional bezels. Personally, I like the heavy clicks of the 60 clicks, nice loud audible clicks, no lateral side-side play whatsoever. No backplay whatsoever, so it's every bit as good as a Rolex Submariner bezel action. It's got the same solid feeling to it, although the clicks are loud and audible, and the 60 click means that it's got a heavier ratcheting mechanism than on a 120 click unidirectional bezel, which has a finer ratcheting mechanism. So I like the feeling of it, I like the sound of it. Now let's just check the alignment. Perfect. The Lume pip and triangle align perfectly with the 12 o'clock index on the dial, so no lateral side-side play, no back play, perfect alignment. This is something that Tudor do very well, perfect bezel execution. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. This is one of my favourite aspects of the Tudor Black Bay series, the Black Bay 58, the Heritage, and this Black Bay Steel. I love the green tone of the Lume they use. It's clearly Superluminova. It looks very close in terms of quality to Rolex Chromalights, but I actually prefer the green tone of the Lume used on the Black Bay series versus the blue tone of BGW9 and Chromalights used by Rolex, respectively. The Snowflake hands allow for large Lume plots. There's a good large area, and this is clearly 5 to 6 layers of Superluminova. It looks very close in green tone to C3 Superluminova. The Lume pip on the red triangle on the stainless steel bezel insert is glowing brightly, and it's a perfect colour match in green tone between the Lume pip, the applied indices, and also the silver Snowflake hands. So the legibility of the Snowflake hands is superior to the legibility of Mercedes hands used by Rolex on the Submariner, for example, and I really like it. I love the symmetry of the dial. It's acceptable to have the absent applied index at the 3 o'clock position due to the date complication, but one can clearly orientate the dial due to the loomed triangle at 12 o'clock. So the Snowflake hands are clearly legible. I also like the snowflake shape of the Lume pip on the sweeping second hand. It's nice attention to detail, and again, it's clearly legible. So it's glowing brightly, and it will continue to glow for a good length of time. This is what top grade Superluminova looks like, and I absolutely love the green tone of it. It reminds me of tritium lume used on vintage pieces. Right, so let's look closely at the clasp, because that's another feature that I actually really like, despite the fact it only has 3 micro adjustments. I would prefer to see the T-fit clasp introduced, or alternatively a diver's extension link. Now if you look closely, you'll see there are 4 ball bearings in the clasp. On a Rolex Submariner it only has 2 oyster steel ball bearings. This is something I really like about the Tudor clasp, and I will apply the same to the Black Bay 58 and also the Pelagos. They have 4 ball bearings, and they're made out of ceramic. If you look at the ball bearings closely, you can see they have a white tone rather than being silver coloured. So it has 4 spring-loaded ceramic ball bearings. Now the benefit of using ceramic rather than stainless steel is ceramic is harder and therefore it's not going to wear down with time. And by using 4 rather than 2 ball bearings, it has a nice reassuring positive click, because we have 2 ball bearings gripping the interior of the clasp and we have 2 outer ball bearings gripping the flip lock. So in 10 or 20 years, this clasp is still going to feel nice and tight. It's still going to snap shut with a nice positive click. Now in 10 or 20 years, it's inevitable that stainless steel ball bearings will wear down, and therefore the closing mechanism will not feel as tight. It will feel more sloppy and there will be more play. But with the ceramic, it means that it's going to feel the same in 10 or 20 years. So this is innovative, and I think that Tudor deserve full credit for this, because it's something that Rolex don't do with their glide lock clasp, for example. They use oyster steel ball bearings and there's only 2. The 4 ball bearings are superior, and I would like to see Rolex introduce ceramic ball bearings in their clasp because it's a better method. Now in terms of the finishing, it's equal quality to a Rolex Submariner clasp with regards to the interior, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, and it's also signed to high standard with Tudor Geneva engraved and steel inox. So it's finished to a very good standard. It's just a shame that on the underside we don't have that T-fit mechanism as per the latest Tudor Black Bay bronze, and 3 micro adjustments in the absence of a diver's extension link is a clear cost cutting measure and a disappointment, bearing in mind that this is a mid-tier piece at €3,750. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So the Black Bay steel is a date complication version of the Black Bay Heritage, and it uses the calibre MT5612. So the MT in the reference number 5612 denotes manufactured Tudor. It's an in-house movement which is COSC chronometer certified. The calibre MT5612 has been in use since 2015. It's the same movement used in the Pelagos, so it's very reliable, it's well proven both in the Pelagos and also in this Black Bay steel. It has 26 joules, a 70-hour power reserve, which is very impressive, hand winding and hacking, which is used for complications, and it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has a non-magnetic silicon balance spring, which is very good, and because it's COSC chronometer certified, we know that it's running at a stated accuracy of -4 to +6 seconds per day. This one, when fully wound to its maximum 70-hour power reserve, is running consistently at +2 seconds per day. So it's actually exceeding COSC chronometer limits of -4 to +6. +2 seconds per day is outstanding accuracy. 70-hour power reserve is outstanding power reserve. So the calibre MT5612, as used in the Pelagos, is an excellent Tudor calibre. It's one of my personal favourite Tudor movements. No negatives to it whatsoever, and it's good to have the backing of COSC chronometer certification. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So the price point of this piece is €3,750. Really, to evaluate the piece, one has to study the quality of the finishing throughout, the quality of the bezel finishing, the quality of the head of the piece, and also the bracelet. Now, I want to give criticism to Tudor because with the ETA versions of the Black Bay, they had an oyster-style bracelet which didn't have these rivet links, and I actually dislike these rivet links. It is subjective. Some collectors like the vintage aesthetic of rivet links. Personally, I think it would look cleaner and better if it didn't have the rivet links and it just had an oyster-style bracelet, as per the ETA-powered versions of the Black Bay. When they introduced the manufactured Tudor movements with the 70-hour power reserve, they changed over from using the oyster-style bracelets to using these rivet link bracelets. I do like the female pivoted end links. They are done very well because they allow the end link of the bracelet to articulate very well and give a very snug fit to the wrist. The case back is also well finished. It's low profile, it's sterile in the centre section, but we have the specification engraved on the circumference and it's coin edge finish, so it's very close in design and finish level to a Rolex case back. The end links are a good tight fit to the case. So the finishing to the head of the piece, the bracelet and also the bezel and the crown are all outstanding. Really, the only cost-cutting measure is the use of this clasp without any micro-adjustment and only 3 micro-adjustment holes. However, I do like the 4 ceramic ball bearings, so there are some positives and there are some negatives to it. So overall, yes, I consider it to be an excellent quality piece. and yes, I consider it to be excellent value at €3,750. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Tudor black base steel. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.